Okay. So, welcome everyone. This is what's become an annual event at Collaborex, which is we call a kind of a year-end virtual retreat that has been led by Molly the last couple of years. Can't even know, 2, 3 years. And each one is so impactful and so um, I don't know. The stuff that we do here just seems to linger with me and is so residual and it lasts me throughout the year. It's not like that diet that you give up on. It's more foundational than that. So I welcome everyone. As Molly said, this is an interactive workshop. So if you have questions, raise your hand. Um, the purpose of this and the intent is that we all, as Molly said, come out different than when we came in. So welcome.
Thank you. All right, I'm excited for this. I uh so what I want to lead us all through is um changing our energy, or maybe we're used to talking about it as change your energy or change your vibration. Today, I wanted to use a different analogy than energy or vibration for those who feel that that is woo and then don't engage. I'm going to use the analogy instead of a gear shift, something that's more. Um, more tangible. And I'll kind of give a brief introduction of how I came to um, understanding this work in the doing the inner work, the intangible and measurable work in order to get tangible, measurable results, so that it's really grounded in being practical and not woo. I really want everybody to understand that what we're doing here is working with the laws of physics, this or understanding the laws of physics and how they simply are, so that we can design our ourselves and our businesses and our health and our lives to with that understanding, so that we're um, it seems like you have superpowers and it seems like you're breaking the laws of physics, but you're not. The same as I come from an aerospace engineering background. So, the same as really understanding gravity and all the forces acting in the physical world, um, help us, are what enable us to make airplanes that seem to break gravity. They go up when gravity pulls down, and there is no force of gravity that pushes up. So, how is it that you understand something and the entire dynamics going on around it well enough to use a force that pulls down to design airplanes? And none of us feel that airplanes are woo or don't trust airplanes. Um, the same as we're all on Zoom, we understand that this isn't woo. So I'm really wanting to, instead of using an analogy like energy or vibration, I want to use this analogy of a gear shift um, to connect to it in a different way and to make it available to people. I mean, everybody here is already here, but all of us talk to other people in our lives too, and tell them the wonderful things that are helping us and that we learned today and had discussions today, and then they're like, oh no, I don't believe in energy, I don't believe in vibration. So just having like a different analogy, a different vocabulary to talk about it around, to maybe be able to engage with more people in your life who you want to share this stuff with, that just don't understand that, don't like that vocabulary. So we'll use the vocabulary gear shift today. And along that note, I'm going to share my screen, um, and put some slides up, because it's also, not a mechanics lesson. I don't expect anybody to, you know, have to know gears or anything for this. It's really just an analogy, and we'll use pictures. Uh, it's got to present it. So, all right, first kind of how I come to doing this is I worked at a large aerospace company, and we had this initiative of data-driven decision making. And in the earlier 2000s, when data started becoming available and cloud services started to become available, the the business world and the engineering world had this hypothesis of we could gather all of the data together and put it in a database, put it somewhere, and then all of our people could have access to the data that they've been asking for and dreaming about having for decades of engineering and business decision making. And if we just had all of that data together, we would make tremendously different decisions, both in business and the technical engineering teams. And that hypothesis made perfect sense to me. I bought it hook, line, and sinker. And was a part of this initiative to go off and get all of that data together and make it available for both technical and non-technical teams. Just assuming that we would then see very different decisions. We would get new insights into what's going on. Why are our components breaking on the airplanes? Why are our designs, breaking and being expensive and warranty? And we'd make different business decisions. And it was touted as it was a very exciting hypothesis. So a couple years later, after we get all of that technology together to be able to do this, and start taking this around different parts of the business, both technical and business, what I saw over and over and over again was people receive the data they had been begging for and paid millions of dollars for, and argue against any data they didn't accept or didn't expect, and weight heavily all the data that they did expect and that they've had from other sources for years. And nothing changed in the engineering teams or in the business teams. Nothing largely changed. And that was fascinating. And I saw it over and over and over again. And I saw it with people I knew and people I didn't know, and people who had PhDs in data science, PhDs in technical things, MBAs, executives who had seven-figure bonuses riding on if they could do something different and solve this problem, still rejecting new data and doubling down, continuing to use the data that they were familiar with and expected, and consequently made very similar decisions, got the same results. So that was fascinating. After it was frustrating, then it was fascinating to watch that. And then me as an engineer on basically a root cause analysis that started on a single hardware component that drove me into saying, well, the component doesn't break itself. It's part of a system, and the system doesn't drive itself. It's driven by software, and the software doesn't fall from the sky. It's written based off of a model. And so going back and saying, okay, why do we have this model? It's based off of the assumptions that we've made. So if we want to fix this little hardware component, design it differently so it doesn't break, we need to make different assumptions. And then that is how I connected into the data world, saying, well, where can we get data to make a different assumption? So years later, I'm now watching over and over and over again very intelligent, very educated leaders reject the opportunity to make a different assumption, reject data that would help them make a different assumption. And what I came to understand is the actual mechanism we're working with our own mind, with our own brain, is a mechanism that draws a target around an arrow. We are not objective, where we show up and we objectively see everything and then make a decision with it. What we're actually doing is showing up already assuming something and then looking for things that support what we assume. And we're functionally blind to the things that don't support what we assume. And it's not bias, it's not something we can train out of. That's simply how the hardware, your brain works. And it must work that way. So I spun off looking into that and the neuroscience and the biology of how does that work? And it must work that way simply because there is too much information from the day you're born and you have physical senses. There's too much information. The first thing the brain has to do is down select an amount that it can start processing and making something out of. So it's kind of a fundamental shift of how do we understand ourselves and how do we understand what how we're interacting with this giant like elephant of a world. If you know the poem of like the blind men and the elephant, and they're all kind of like grasping around and having dramatically different conclusions about what's in front of them based off of what is available for them to feel. So understanding that that's really um, part of the boundaries of our perceptive mechanism, kind of like the laws of physics, like the boundary of gravity is it always pulls down. Yes, you can make things heavier than water float and you can make boats out of steel, even though steel sinks. You have to understand really what's going on. You're never finding something that makes metal not heavier than water, make metal not sink. You're understanding what's going on in order to make a boat heavier than water and make something fly. You have to first surrender to, understand and surrender to how does it work. So our fundamental step here is recognizing we always show up with internal assumptions. We always show up with an arrow placed somewhere. And the mechanism of the mind is doing the job it must do to find information in the world and draw a target around it. So from that point, if I can make it go next slide. Yeah, okay. There's like two ideas I want to run through. Like the first is that really looking into that mechanism. And I like this stick person. You might recognize it. It's been around a while. I learned this from Bob Proctor. And that, so we've divided your mind into your conscious and your conscious on top and your subconscious on bottom. This is no relation to how the brain or anything works. It's just a model. And then you've got your five physical senses as antennas, collecting information about the outside and putting that information into you, which is basically inside a black box. You have five streaming channels of information into your inner world that is a black box. From there, you have your thoughts and your feelings that interact and cause each other. I really should have put a two-way arrow that way because it kind of resonates, and your thoughts can cause your feelings and your feelings can cause your thoughts. But from there, your actions, and you will take actions, and you are basically dragged through time and space by your thoughts and your feelings to take actions, to get those two to be different than each other takes tremendous energy and is not sustainable. So, in an equilibrium state, your thoughts and your feelings are dragging you through time and space, taking basically compulsive actions that come out of your thoughts and your feelings. And then from there, you're getting physical results. Like if you pick a box up and move it, the box is where you picked it up and moved it to. So now we're kind of seeing a really simplified model of how our thoughts are becoming things. And so that's in your physiology. That's built in. So to just understand that that's part of the forces that we're working with. And then the part that we have free will and we can control and change is where do you direct your physical senses? What do you allow? What do you choose to stream into you through the five physical senses that connect you to the outside world? And how do you choose the thoughts that you think? And if you take your physical senses and you look at the results that you already have from your past actions and you use that information as the input to your thinking, then you think the same thoughts, you feel the same feelings, you take basically the same actions, and you get basically the same results. And now you're in a feedback loop. And then the more we look at the results we already have, even if we're analyzing them and wanting to change them and trying to figure out how they work and how they got there, we're still just we're using those results as an input into our thoughts and our feelings. And then we compulsively take actions based off of our thoughts and our feelings. And that's how we get in this feedback loop. So now I'm going to put us in breakout rooms, or Jonathan's going to put us in breakout rooms because you're our host. So you can just pair us up on one and give us um, maybe give us 5 minutes and we'll talk one on one for 5 minutes and then we'll come back and we can talk as a group. And um, I guess I'll pause too before. Does anybody want to ask questions or share anything before we go into breakout rooms? And then in breakout rooms, we can talk about, can you relate? Do you recognize any feedback loops in your life? But does anybody want to talk about this model before we go into the breakout groups?
If you do, you can raise your hand.
So, so we're going to give examples of how we get stuck in the feedback loop. And
Yeah, if this is if you can recognize somewhere in your life where you're doing this, where you're the um the more you look at something, the harder it becomes for you to change it. The more you analyze a problem, sometimes this turns into analysis paralysis. You just keep analyzing the problem and not taking actions, or not using your actions end up just feeding back into the problem. Or procrastinating, you just keep looking at it and not knowing what to do differently. And so you end up not being inspired to do anything. And so if you can recognize where you're in any of these feedback loops in your life or your business.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Bounce us into one-on-one rooms and you can
Okay. I'm gonna
connect.
do this. I'm gonna keep Lori out because she's on the train and can't talk. So that's
Ah,
what it was. But besides that, let's see how well I can do this. Uh, okay, sorry. I gotta put both of Deb in one room.
yeah,
oh, yeah.
the one that has this, well, I have to have two.
Okay. And then the last one. Okay. I think I did it. Okay. Okay. You said 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, that was perfect. Whatever that amount of time was the perfect amount of time.
Okay.
We're drawing the target around the arrow.
Yes.
Did anyone identify with that? See any feed places that you're in a feedback loop?
Yeah. Do you want me to prioritize them? So something else that I thought of that I didn't even mention, I was with Ricky together, and but I think we we're thrown into feedback loops kind of when we're in like elementary school.
Absolutely.
Your teacher says, "Oh, you're smart or you're not smart, or you're a goofball, or you're defined as a nerd or an athlete or whatever."
Hmm.
And you instantly, your little fourth grade brain says, well, that's true. Of course, they told me that.
Mm.
And then you spend your life finding data that supports it.
Yeah.
Yes. And becoming functionally blind to data that refutes it.
Mm.
So by the time you're an adult, you're you believe it's true. You don't realize you just have blinders on. All of the evidence, all of the data that you're able to see and receive from the outside world proves it to you. Now, there is evidence in the outside world that would disprove it, but you're functionally blind to it. That's what the brain does. It can't take in, I mean, even just look at the eyeballs, they can't take in all the frequencies of light. If they did, you wouldn't see objects. So the fact that we're blind to certain kinds of light means that solid objects show up, but the air doesn't show up. If I could see all frequencies of light, I would be blinded by the air right next to my eyes and I couldn't see the wall or the floor. So it's a necessary part of living in a physical world that we only receive bandwidths of information. And so part of the place that that's at play more than just light is in your identity, in who you think you are and what you think is possible for you.
I know. I mean, that's a loaded statement. Who you think you are. Like, how do you know who you are? You've been told who you are. And is that true? Was it true or not true? And usually it's not true.
Hmm.
What others expect you to be. But I think you incorporate it into your subconscious. You
Yes.
don't even realize that
Yes.
that's who you're being.
Yes. And so like another way to understand what's going on is you don't even realize what you're blind to.
Hmm.
And so when you want to do something different, like make I was with Pearson, I threw out a number for, a monthly income of being like, I don't know, imagine making $100,000 a month. And he's like, it's not where my imagination goes. Imagination wants to scale 10% or 15%, something more logical. And that is just showing too the blindness of the capabilities of what is there and how we the how we start ignoring things. And then you can either look at it as ignoring or becoming unwilling to receive the opportunities, being unwilling to walk through doors. So the thing that we're going to actually do the work together starting here, and so that you understand it and you can go rinse and repeat, in all for all time in all areas of your life, is it seems nonsensical to think and feel disjoined from what your senses show you. Think and feel things that you actually have no permission from the outside world to think and feel. Like if you're not making $100,000 a month or a million plus a year, your bank account, the business world, your MBA doesn't give you permission to think and feel like you are. And that keeps you in a feedback loop. So to break out of it, we recognize the outside world, the evidence on the outside will never be the thing that breaks us out of a feedback loop. And it's not that it's not there, it's that we can't perceive it. Who we are being is somebody who can't perceive it. Similarly, if I go in and the answer to everything is written in Chinese and I don't speak Chinese, I don't get the answer to everything. I can't perceive it. It's in a thing that I haven't associated with long enough to have learned. If it's in English, I have associated as an English speaker long enough because somebody when I was born just told me I would learn English. They told me or just treated me as if I would learn English. They assumed for me I would learn English. And then I did. I drew the target around the arrow. I took the assumption. And then my subconscious mind grabs on to the English that's around me, and that's how I learn to speak. And so anything that is written in a code that's not English, I don't identify with.
Yeah,
And
that I was just going to say, doesn't that happen? I mean, think of all the things in our lives. Um, you meet your soulmate. You don't see your soulmate in physical reality. You think, I this is someone I want to meet. I'm looking for that person. But you don't see that person and then say, oh, that's, I don't know. It starts with your thought. You create a business, you create a new idea. The business doesn't exist.
but all of our businesses and all of our partners are all treating us ways that we expect. If we didn't, that partnership wouldn't, there would be no glue, that you wouldn't stick in it. Like just to keep it with language instead of going somewhere else. Like, none of us are probably with partners who have no understanding of the language we speak, and we have no understanding of the only language they speak. That's not how we're not used to being treated that way. We're used to being understood by people around us in our language. So we're all with a partner that treats us within the bounds of where we're used to being treated, including physically and verbally and all of the things that, like, I'll just say in language instead of elaborating all of those, but it applies in all of those. And your expectation for what does relationship feel like, what does relationship look like, what am I allowed to expect in relationship, is an expectation that you learned before the age of 7 by observing the world and relationships around you. And then by the time you get to being an adult and you're in a feedback loop, whether it's the same relationship or this with the same person, or you keep finding relationship after relationship or job after job or client after client that keeps being the same pattern, the thing that's keeping that pattern, um, I can't, oh, the thing that keeps that pattern um, going is your thinking and feeling state. That's the assumption that the arrow is getting painted around, and then you're blind to the relationships that would treat you differently, the business opportunities available to you that would 10x your profits, the healing that's available to you to change the health of your body outside of the bounds that you're used to. All of those things are available for all of us in every wedge of our life. It's learning to calibrate ourselves to perceive a different frequency, to run in a different gear.
But I think part and parcel is also your own actions. Like if you use the relationship example, it's like you have thoughts, which create the feelings, which create your actions, then your actions create their actions or their thoughts and feelings, which then create their actions, which then make you act, think, feel, and act. And it's like these micro actions that you're repeating yourself in every relationship or whatever it is.
Yeah. And you have no free will. You have no ability to change those actions. Your actions are you being dragged through time and space by your thoughts and your feelings. So you have no leverage to change your actions in any kind of meaningful, permanent way. Your actions and observing your actions and observing people's reactions to your action is really helpful when you know that what you're doing is tracing it back to how was I thinking and feeling when I got dragged through time and space this way? How was I triggered? What was I afraid of? What was I excited by? What was I inspired by? What was going on in my inner world such that I got dragged through time and space this way, or I got dragged through time and space to perceive their response as this instead of perceive their response of something different. So like I'm going to keep drawing us back to the inner world of our thoughts and feelings. And then we're going to do exercises together, which anyone who's been here is going to know is the Hand Over Your Heart song, of changing that inner state in a way that is going to seem crazy and nonsensical according to the outer state that you are calibrated to perceive, the outer world that you see, the money in your bank account, the way your business is performing, the way your relationships are treating you, the health of your body, all of the things on the outside, none of them are going to give you permission to change, to think different thoughts and feel different feelings. And so when you understand how the mechanism works, it is the most logical thing in the world to get out headphones and a blindfold and cut your senses off to all the things around you and start to visualize, what does perfect health look like? What does a, a, a business where I get to do exactly what I want to do feel like? What would I think about my business if I was making $100,000 a month? What would I think about my life if I were living in my dream home? How would I feel? And it's not sticking your head in the sand. I'm totally away from my slides now. So now we're just not on the slides anymore. But it's not sticking your head in the sand and ignoring what's around you and trying to use your inner world to ignore the outside while believing the outside is causal, while believing the outside is in control of you. It's understanding the mechanism to understand you're in control of the outside, but this is how you have to control it. The same with an airplane. The air is in control of the airplane. We can change the shape of the airplane so that the air does different things to it, but the air is in control of the airplane. If we think the air is see-through and really light and the airplane is heavy and solid and it would hurt me if I hit it and the air doesn't hurt me if I hit it, we would not understand the mechanism well enough to make airplanes and have all of that technology. If say, we could talk the same about a cell phone and what's wireless and what's invisible, we would think, well, we can't, if I try to change my cell phone to change who I'm talking to, it doesn't work. You have to understand the mechanism well enough to understand we're actually changing something below the visible. It's not visible. Jonathan.
Yeah, I mean, is this a correct analogy? I look at it as going to the source. It's like, okay, there's something, you have a reality that you live in, and it's based on how your subconscious feelings have caused certain actions that have caused certain results. But it's like if you have a little kid and they're crying, it doesn't help to say stop crying. You have to say, why are you crying? You have to get to the root of it. You have to find out what what scared them, what their feelings were,
Yeah.
and work on the feelings and say, why did you feel that way? Why was that so scary? Or why did that hurt you?
So, where for all of us in our lives are we believing that the cause is the outside thing? The cause for how I'm feeling is the money in my bank account, is the thing that the person said to me. The cause for how I'm feeling is their reaction, what they did. Like I did that for years in relationship, in business, or in as an employee, just believing like I have to feel this way. this I have to. It's what it is. I'm just making sense. I'm just present. I'm just aligned with what real is. I'm just a realist. And then we try to analyze more and more and more, trying to create an analysis that will give us a different feeling. And that's what that aerospace company was doing with all of the data. They're feeling this is possible and this isn't possible, and this is who we are and this isn't who we are, and then trying to create an analysis that gives them permission to feel, oh, a different thing that we thought was possible is possible, and trying to create an analysis on the outside that gives them permission to do that. And they can't do that because they don't have the ability to receive different data. So they keep creating analyses that look and feel the same way. And then that's the feedback loop. So everywhere in your life, like maybe everybody um, try to identify one place for you where you're thinking your thoughts and your feelings, you can't choose different thoughts and feelings. The ones that you have, you're stuck with unless and until somebody on the outside changes, somebody or something on the outside changes. And that's where you won't be able to change it because you have the cause and effect switched. And if you keep changing the effect, thinking it's going to change the cause because you have the wrong model, it makes sense in your model, but you don't get the results. So that's why I start with the model to help people understand you got the wrong model. If you're not able to create the life of your dreams, you have the wrong model. You don't have the wrong money. You're not born in the wrong country. You don't have the wrong time. Nobody's out to get you. If you don't have the life of your dreams, you have the wrong model.
I guess, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking like, what comes to me because there's been so many things in my life, and so many things have changed. So it's easy at this point. It's easy to understand this, but it really is like we've walked around just reacting to everything, everyone, with that sometimes knee-jerk reaction of our assumptions, of the assumptions that we already have. Be it with when you were saying that, Molly, the first thing that came, I won't get too personal here, but the first thing that came to me was like when Dave and I get in a riff and I know what's going on, and then I just have to like do the stop it. Just like why is this happening again? Why is this the same thing again? Until you really can like understand where it's really coming from. Like it's not coming from him, and that, and I love my Dave, but that was the thing that popped into my mind. That's definitely softening and changing, but this work has been so helpful in that regard. But it is that, that defensive knee jerk. I see it in myself and I see it in him, and it's a program. Let's just change it. Change the program.
So are we good to move on? Is everybody on board to start practicing and doing the work to change the inner state? Or does anybody feel resistance to that idea still and you want to like poke holes on the theory, like play devil's advocate, like each one of you, what do you need from me, from this group, from this time in order to be willing to write on a blank sheet of paper, this is how I want to feel about XYZ, and then follow through, close your eyes, and practice feeling that way, even though nobody's changed. No money has shown up. Nothing outside has changed. So is everybody on board to move forward to that? And if anybody's not, like, we're all here to help get you there. And so, like, I invite you to speak up, be argumentative, do whatever you need to do to start being willing to shift.
Okay, I'll express resistance.
Okay.
I I I get this. I believe in this. I know that in my life, there's evidence of thoughts become things. That there were things that didn't exist until I thought them, felt them, wanted them, took action, and pursued those things that I love. But in spite of that, my subconscious mind is having a just a fucking fit. It's like so it's trying to always go back to be a realist, work harder, do the
Hmm.
things that you were that were ingrained in you as a kid. So in spite of this, I'll feel okay, I'll be happier if. And I feel like I go into dependency on external events.
Yeah.
I
So
look
when
for
you
those.
and you notice like your subconscious or your feelings start throwing a fit, and how were you conditioned? How were you treated early on in life when you threw a fit? How have you learned to treat something that throws a fit?
I, I would go sent to my room. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So so basically when you're sent to your room, your parent is telling you, "Hey, your actions on the outside of me are making me feel a way I don't like to feel. And I don't know how to feel, how I want to feel, regardless of what's going on around me. So the rule of the house is you have to go away because I can't feel how I want to feel in the presence of you acting how I don't want you to act." And so we learn that's the feed, like our parents are in the feedback loop. Our kindergarten teachers were in the feedback loop. Probably your pastor is in the feedback loop. Like all these people that are modeling these behaviors, these things for us in the minutest ways. Go to your room. That is to say, I can't be how I want to be. You're unconditionally. I don't know how to be how I want to be unconditionally. Think and feel how I decide to think and feel. You've messed up the outside for me. I use the outside to tell me how I am inside. Now you're a problem. You, child, are a problem for the
Right.
adult. And now you have to go.
Right.
And so, and
Until
we,
such time you can, calm down and
right,
pretend you don't feel this way.
right.
It
And
doesn't change your feelings. It just,
well, how many of us are treating our business the same way? I can't feel good about my business if I look at my bank account and it doesn't have the right amount of money in it. I can't feel good about my success if I look at an email of somebody who's not happy with me. I can't feel good about myself. So I'm just not going to look at the email, or I'm going to try to justify back and forth and try to change the thing, or just not look at it. I mean, you can't send an email to timeout and expect it to change itself, but kind of that's what we're expecting things to do. I'm going to punish you by not looking at you because I don't know how to think and feel how I want to think and feel when something around me doesn't give me permission to do it, doesn't corroborate how I want to think and feel. Instead, the opposite of that is holding space. That's what holding space is. We hear these buzzwords like of holding space. That's what it is, of being like, I can be here and I can feel how I want to feel when you're throwing a fit. I can be around a kid who's having a tantrum and be calm. A parent who can't do that has to send the child throwing a fit away. But to hold space and be like, I can be here and you can throw a fit and you can wear yourself out and then we can have a conversation about what's really going on. But I can hold space for that. And for all of us to hold space for ourselves, for our fears and our insecurities and all of the things that we're like, oh, no, 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 no. If I just lost the weight, then I'd feel better about myself and then I'd look in the mirror. But until then, I'm just not going, and then I'm not going to that. Then you're in the feedback loop and all of a sudden the thing is hard to do. It's hard to grow your business, it's hard to make money, it's hard to heal cancer, it's hard to lose weight, it's hard to find your dream relationship, it's hard to find your dream home. And none of those things are hard. you have the wrong model. Your model says I need the outside to change until I can change how I'm feeling. And yet you are manifesting 100% of the time. You don't have a choice. As thoughts become things, you're a thinking being. So long as you are thinking and feeling, you are causing matter to crystallize around you. You can't turn it off. You can learn the skill of controlling your thoughts and feelings. And most of us went to school and did a bunch of other stuff to learn the skill of controlling other people or putting a mask on to hide our thoughts and feelings so that hopefully people will respond to us differently than how we can think and feel. And then thinking that will break the feedback loop. And so we're practicing the skills of either trying to control other people, send other people to time out, punish them in some version, or paint on masks, bigger and thicker and stronger masks. And what I'm proposing is we learn and practice the skill of how do I control my thoughts and feelings because I understand the physics of what happens of matter crystallizing around thoughts and feelings. And I saved you guys all the slides of the physics of that. That's why we talk about analogies about gears or energy or frequency. People don't like the physics as much as I do, and that's okay. I like you guys all the same. So but to understand that is the physics. And so let's practice and strengthen this skill of creating the thoughts and feelings on a blank sheet of paper with no permission from the world around you to do so. When you can do that, you change the world, not through effort, simply by being the thoughts and feelings that you are, by walking around, being a constantly broadcasting, constantly manifesting consciousness with thoughts and feelings that are not aligned with the outside world. Physics says you change it. The same as I put a hot thing in my refrigerator, it changes the temperature of the refrigerator. This is physics, and so much of what we're holding on to, calling science, is just superstition. And to like let go of the superstition long enough to practice this skill, and then see it through, and then once you do it, you understand it, and you can trust it.
I want to add something real quick, Molly, because what I was thinking about is you were saying that you use the analogy of losing weight, or whatever, and and so with any of like those goals, isn't it funny how oftentimes we do achieve that and we celebrate it, and then we just do the same thing in another part of our life. Like the
Yeah,
behavior doesn't go away. It's like,
yeah,
I always remember, I forget who it was saying, maybe it was Abraham Hicks or something about like a relationship or a job. Wherever you move to, you're taking yourself with you. So what are you expecting to change?
yeah. Yeah. Or you lose the weight and you gain it again. You make the money and then you spend it, and your stress in life is the same. You make more money, you spend more money, and your stress level stays the same.
Mm.
You get out of the relationship, you get into another one that's exactly the same. You quit the job, you end up with another job that feels exactly the same. Even if you change industries, even if it looks really different on the outside, the experience you're having on the inside is the same.
Mm.
And so, how do we break out of that? We take authority over how do I think and how do I feel. And we allow it to, we understand the physics long enough to allow it to be completely disjoined from everything around you. This is the same as this is unconditional. We're now not checking the conditions around us. So if you can feel joy, disconnected from everything around you, you're practicing feeling unconditional joy. If you can feel gratitude disconnected from whatever's going on around you, you can feel unconditional gratitude. If you can feel love disconnected from how everything is around you, you can feel unconditional love. And that's a skill to practice. And it's not the skill that most of us have learned anywhere.
Yeah.
Are you ready to do it? Is everybody ready to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, cool. So my favorite way to do this is I call it the hand over your heart song. I'm going to play an intentionally emotionally manipulative song. Hi, bye, Jennifer. There's a recording. We'll send you the recording if you want to keep going. Um, and songs, they're so good at being emotionally manipulative. Let's like work, let's ride the wave, let's work with the wave. So I choose intentionally emotionally manipulative songs because we're trying to feel here. And the first thing I invite you to feel is this idea: what I really want is possible for me. Just take that idea, that thought, maybe say it a couple times to yourself throughout the song. I also, when I'm listening to emotionally manipulative music, I put my hand over my heart to also remind myself, you feel in your heart. You don't feel in your prefrontal cortex. Like I've lived, like I said, I'm an engineer, I'm a scientist. I've lived a lot of my life just intellectually trying to analyze everything, understand everything, judge, weigh everything. So to get myself physically, your body's a tool for this. That's a whole nother talk. But like your body's on your side. Your body is your quantum. It is the quantum computer. And how do you fly this quantum computer? Like we're not learning that when you go to the doctor. Like that's an incredible thing to learn also. So so I do two things. I put the music on. Well, often I also put a blindfold on or close your eyes. And then I put my hands over my heart to just remind myself I'm not thinking, I'm not analyzing, I'm not trying to solve a problem. I'm just joining from everything my physical senses connect me to, and I'm sitting in the physical space where my heart is. Oh, perfect time. Lori's like off the train. Um, and I'm putting my attention, my consciousness there instead of throwing it outside of my body using my eyes or my ears or throwing it in time forward and backwards using my imagination to replay something or worry about something or imagine something. Like I'm taking all of that energy, that E equals MC squared version of energy, and I'm putting it at this physical location in space. And then let the song well up, use the energy, the emotion of the song, and feel into this idea. What I want most is available to me. There's physics behind that. Again, there's a whole nother talk. I'm not coming up with that because it just sounds nice. There's physics behind why is that true. But for now, like we've done enough talking through stuff. Like I want us to do some of the work. So we're just gonna kind of like jump in to that part. Yeah, Ricky.
Do we repeat what I want most is available to me, or are we supposed to fill in the blank and think of what it is we want is available to me, or just,
Whichever
oh,
whichever feels more to you. Like the point of this is to produce feeling. Okay. Um, okay. All right. And close your eyes if you want to be off video, for this to just be able to relax and really, really concentrate inside. Feel free to turn your camera off. This song is 5.5 minutes. I'll be interested to hear afterwards if it felt like an hour to anybody or 30 seconds to anybody. And so I'll see you guys in 5.5 minutes. Were you able to stick with it? Stick with that feeling? Did anyone feel another feeling fighting back?
It, it took me kind of a minute to settle into the song and feeling hand over my heart. And then I felt manipulated by the song. So I felt that as it was going on, like I was breathing quicker as the song crescendoed. But I kept thinking, what I really want, I know it's available to me, but I'm here and that's there.
Mm.
It's it felt separate from me,
Okay.
and I wanted to feel not separate.
Okay. So you kind of zoomed past, like just zoomed on by the possibility of it. And instead of kind of staying in the possibility of it, your mind kind of jumped in and was like, but I want the evidence. I want to stop doing this exercise where I feel different than the world around me. And I want to be able to default back to, I can just feel the way the world is around me if only this thing would come to me. I think it's
Mm.
maybe that's like the muscle strain version. Like if you were at the gym, like lifting weights, and then your arms are like, and then like you couldn't lift the weights anymore. Like this is like going to the gym. And your mind is like, I'm trying to be separate from the world around me, but I've reached fatigued. They can only do it for 4 seconds, 5 seconds, a minute until it's like, oh, I can't hold myself separate from the world around me. It's a skill to practice.
Yeah.
That's similar, I think, different words, but mine was like when I found the thing and I started to repeat it, I would just get attacked, arrows, with the opposite. But here's proof. Here's proof. And I kept going back and then I kept going, but.
Yeah. So do you feel, I don't know, who's winning? Like the new narrative of this is like we you do want to be thinking and feeling something that there's no physical evidence, no physical permission to think and feel, or are the buts,
Right.
pulling you back to like, no, no, you can only feel the way the world outside gives you permission to feel.
I think in the 12 months almost that I've been uh, attending and being in the quantum manifesting group, I think like I've arrived at like step one of like the possibility, like that this is a possibility.
Okay. Beautiful. Yeah, CJ.
Yeah, well, I wasn't expecting that. It was
Mm,
very overwhelming,
mm.
but it was beautiful. Um, I wasn't expecting it. I don't know what effect I was supposed to have. I don't feel negative or anything. I just felt very overwhelmed.
Yeah, the overwhelm and especially crying is so normal. I should have let everybody know that ahead of time. So normal
Is
because
anybody else crying? Not that
I'm
it
not
matters.
I'm not today, but I've been doing this a couple years. And yeah, yeah, that happens a lot to me. And maybe it doesn't even come with a story and you don't even know like necessarily why you're crying. For so long, we've been told you can't have what you want, which hurts that just sucks. It sucks so much. From being a super little kid, we're told you can't have what you want. And so we've just pushed down the feeling of it, because we're also at the same time, like Jonathan said, you're not allowed to throw a fit about it. If you throw a fit about it, you get thrown out, you get sent away. And so we learn to push it down and push it down. And we've all got decades of pushing down that awful feeling of I can't have what I want and I can't be who I really want to be. I can't be who I feel like I am. And so, as you start giving yourself permission to think that thought, those feelings are going to come up. Because the last time you thought that thought, that's where the feeling is. These are maps. Like this time and space is not the way it looks on the outside. As you start thinking thoughts and feeling things, you're being taken on a journey to a dimensional place that is higher to the fourth, fifth, 11th, whatever dimension, more than space and time. And that's where that feeling is. So you got taken on a journey to a place where there is a feeling. And that's the heart has these maps. When we're putting our attention here, all of our bodies keep the score. Your body knows where all of this energy has been crystallized and turned into something solid and stored somewhere in your body as tension, as a freckle, as a tick, as a something that it's just held onto somewhere in your body. And as we start feeling this, your body starts taking you to these places where the energy has been stored and releasing it as you feel the feeling. And so another thing that's really important as you do this is to be willing to feel the feeling. If you get to the place and then you get the feeling, it's like, I'm here to be felt. And we're like, oh, I hate that feeling. That's why I've stuffed it down in all of these places. Then it just stays stuffed down. It's a willingness and a trust in yourself and courage to feel these feelings that we haven't felt, mostly because the people caretaking us when we were younger didn't have the courage to feel them and didn't know the truth about themselves, which is I am a being that can hold space for sadness. I'm a being that can hold space for fear. I can be in the presence of fear and not be afraid. And so as you start feeling sadness, you start feeling fear, anxiety, sad, whatever all of the things are, you start learning about yourself. I'm a being who can be in the presence of this really big, bad feeling, and I can hold it until it moves on. And to know that about ourselves, how many things have we run away from because we don't think we can hold it? And we said, if I just made enough money, if I just had a spouse next to me, if I just had a big enough house, if I just had a job that paid me every 2 weeks, I wouldn't have to ever hold space for this. But then to actually know I can hold space for this, so we can drop so much of the baggage we've been carrying to protect ourselves from ever having to be present with that, all this buffer that we have. When you find out really what you're made of, and really how strong you are, and really how courageous you are, and really how big the things that you really want are, it's a really cool way to live life.
Thank you very much for that. That was beautiful.
Why don't we go in breakout rooms again? Like it's kind of a big group to talk in front of everybody. Let's go in breakout groups again and just see each other's feelings, hear each other's experience. Part of what we can do in community, and this is why, Collaborex is a community, so we can witness each other and you can hold space for someone else and you can allow yourself to be held and witnessed.
Okay. How much time?
I don't know. Is 5 minutes good?
Sure. Okay. Let me try and get people in different rooms. Okay. Patty, this is where you're supposed to lead the conversation while
Oh, if we don't have Kenneth here to ask a question, what's your favorite candy?
Okay, here we go. I'm ready.
Okay.
I was on a break, Patty.
Oh.
I I know this is the perfect timing because I cut CJ off. So
Oh, I just have to say, guess what? I was with CJ in the first breakout, and guess what? She lives in Macon. So when I'm down in Georgia, I'm less than an
Ah,
hour from her. Like, how
Yes,
crazy is
we
that?
have to meet up.
Yes, for sure.
right. Kismick's coming over, right? Your place.
Oh,
Kismic,
well,
Kismic.
we can definitely have it that way because she's not far
Oh
from
my
me.
God, you're Kismic's friend? I didn't know
You know
that part.
Kismet?
Yes.
What? That's amazing. I can't wait to tell her.
Kismet's our best friend. Tell her we missed her.
I will definitely, I'll see her tomorrow, actually. So
That's
I will definitely get
amazing.
the message.
Okay, good. So will I. I have a Zoom meeting with her at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Full dates.
Okay.
how many of you found it harder for 5.5 minutes to stay in a feeling that could really feel phenomenally amazing of what I want is available to me? Found that harder than if I had said, like, hey, list for me all of the problems that you're having right now. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Not unexpected, but interesting. Like, how much more practice have we had? If we just look at what's easy and what's hard, is what have we practiced? So, all of us have practiced so much more taking our physical senses and putting them on the problem. And when you understand that stick figure, that mechanism, and then you see, oh, there's a feedback loop. How many of us have like pumped the feedback loop? And that's our go-to skill, is take the attention and put it there. And that now feels natural and easy, even though the state it's going to produce inside of you is an uncomfortable state of anxiety or disappointment or frustration or sadness, whatever it is. So if this was a traditional business blueprinting year-end thing, and I was like, all right, I want you to find like all the things you messed up this year, people would be like, heads down, writing, easy to concentrate for 2 hours. I'd have to interrupt you at the end of 2 hours if you're just beating yourself up.
But isn't that the target around the arrow? You think,
Well,
here are the
yes,
things that I can't do, and let me prove it. Here, look, I have a
yes,
whole list.
yeah. So this is is it hard? Yes. Yeah, go ahead, Laura.
So I don't. I'm struggling with this a little bit, but one of the things I didn't struggle with the what I really want is available to me. I mean, it's a beautiful mantra, and so it was very meditative. I don't know if that's what it's supposed to be for me, but what I would say is I'm also a coach, and one of the things that I say to my clients all the time is just because it's easy for you doesn't mean that it's not valuable. Because I do think that, and I don't know if that's if I'm making the right connections here, but I do think that people think, well, this is easy, so this comes easy to me. And it can be just skills or an ability to intuition or listening skills, and they think, well, that's not even worth giving a lot of credence to because it's easy for me. And they much prefer thinking about the things that are more challenging and that they wish were different about themselves. So I just wanted to make that comment that that's an observation that I have about many of my clients is that they discount what's easy for them and don't necessarily, I mean, I do like a lot of personal branding and things like that, and they don't necessarily even want to talk about that. And I'm like, but why not? That's really valuable. And I
Hmm.
think that it's
I'd push
interesting.
back on that. Like, because somebody might say, oh, it's really easy to sit and put your hand over your heart and focus on this feeling for 5 minutes.
Oh, well, I'm not suggesting that one, but I mean, I'm
But,
thinking about skill sets. But okay, yeah.
but even, or the skill set of like, if it's easy to push, I don't know, maybe push back and see if it's easy or if it's rehearsed or if it's the place you'd rather be because like everything around it is unacceptable for some reason in your model or something. Like there's a reason that it's easy. I don't maybe that doesn't translate.
Yeah, if something is easy for you, it's either because you've made it easy for you because you've practiced it so much and someone said this is, you're supposed to be a person with high emotional intelligence. And so you've really worked on that over time and now it's easy for you.
Or it's an innate
Or
trait, or it's a
or it's an
combination,
innate
or
or
it's a
it's an
combination of
innate,
the two. Yeah.
right, or it's innate and it's easy because you don't have to try, it's just you.
And why not build on that rather than, I mean, you then discounting it? I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
if Molly, I'm sorry if I'm not sure if I've like thrown us off track, but that's what comes up for me when you asked your question.
I think there's like, all right, so I don't know why this is what's coming to me, and it's kind of like it's a weird vector of approach, but I think it's going to get us this point. When I was an engineer and I went through school, math was easy for me. So I kept going into places that used more math because it was easy for me. And then there's these kind of symbiotic things of being really good at math and being shy, or being really good at math and being introverted are like these kind of, so the something that was easy for me was a mask for something else I didn't want to do. And it became okay to be shy. And also early in life, I couldn't read. I could do math, but I couldn't really read. So I started flaunting the thing that was easy for me, putting that out really in front to distract myself and other people from this thing I couldn't do. And so, like, the things that are easy for us are also, we practice them, they're part of our mask. And so staying in them or um, there's a compensation somewhere. Like if something's easy for somebody and they have all the results that they want in their life and business, amazing. But if something's easy for somebody and they don't have the results that they want in their life and business, that thing being easy is part of an ecosystem that is in balance with it being easy, but you want to upset that ecosystem in order to get the results. So to find something connected to, why is that thing easy? Why is that the thing that you spent so much time and effort for? Because there's a cost, an opportunity cost somewhere else where you haven't been willing to be, or you're ashamed of, or you're hiding, that has created that imbalance in your ecosystem.
Okay.
Oh, we're flying through. Okay, so 24 minutes. I have another hand over the heart song. I'm still sharing my screen. I kind of want to pop back to my slides. I'm so far off of them. I'm not going to put them off because I'm like way off of them. But I think there was also I was gonna have people write. Does anybody want to write out a vision? Like, or we can go into um maybe we'll go into a breakout room again and talk about, once you practice the skill of feeling what I want is possible for me, that lowers the energy barrier to then be able to think of, what is it that I want? If you're believing I can't have what I want, nothing in you is going to invest energy in creating a vision. So once we kind of lower the barrier to entry to writing the vision of believing what I want is possible for me and practicing that. And for some of us, that might be months of practicing, choosing to opt into the thought and the feeling of I can have what I want before your body gets dragged through time and space to take the action of writing out a vision, or feeling into it, is feels safe enough and is willing to feel into a vision. But since this is kind of, I'm giving you what you can do in a year, then we would go on to, if you believe what you most want is possible for you, What is that? And really importantly, how would that feel?
Okay. Here we go. Ah, another breakout.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we'll do 3 minutes, 3 minutes in this breakout, and then we'll come out, we'll do the Handle Your Heart song, and then we can discuss together or go in breakouts.
Okay. Okay. Uh, okay, I'm getting better at this. Okay. See everyone in 3 minutes. Oh, there we are. I knew I clicked join. Uh, Molly, this thing isn't long enough.
2 hours?
Next year, 5 hours.
Oh man.
Well, this is, this is what I offer to all of you. I understand, like, so I want to give you as much as I can in 2 hours. And come join us every 2 weeks for the Quantum Manifestors. We do this for 90 minutes every 2 weeks. And for me, this has turned into coaching people because I didn't get it in 2 hours. I didn't get it in a group. I got it one on one, showing up week after week after week after week on the whole saga of the ups and the downs, and having somebody help me, having somebody listen to me and help me listen to myself.
Mhm.
Really, and hold the space for me to listen to myself. I didn't do that. I zoomed on and I justified. I just kept trying to make it about the outside. So to have somebody hold space so that you don't get distracted making it about the outside, and you actually listen to yourself and you actually feel your own feelings, that's the magic. And I couldn't do it by myself. And my coach couldn't do it by herself. And I know tons of people without coaches who aren't doing it at all. So for me, this physics, this applied physics has turned into coaching with people one on one, week after week after week. So if that that is what I offer, not as a sales pitch, but because that's what I know transforms and that's what I know works. And I am starting in January will be the first time I'll be working with a small group of people, like a very small group of 4 people specifically working through a physical illness. And we're going to do that in community, and we're going to use that physical illness and find what is here to bless me for it to be the portal between your caterpillar and your butterfly. So you come out of the illness a different, letting that illness transform you into a version of you that you couldn't have analytically, mentally transformed yourself into, and understanding really the blessing of seemingly the worst diseases and how are they actually here to bless us. So I know that's quite off topic, but like that's that's what I offer to people, and the way I know to do it is to keep coming back to it. Very high touch, and be in community, whether it's one on one or in a group, be in community. So that
Yeah.
I'll kick us. How helps now go back to that old energy. I just put a pause on, but that energy you were with your partner as you were feeling into this is exactly how my life would feel. And again, you need no permission from the outside world. What we're doing here is intentionally feeling different on the inside than you do than the outside world is. That produces a very real force in the physical world to start the outside world changing. When you stop changing how you think and feel to match the outside world has no choice but to change, to crystallize around how you are thinking and feeling. That is the physics. So different song, equally emotionally manipulative for those of us who are
Gee, thanks.
emotionally resistant.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Here we go.
Molly, what are we thinking or feeling?
That feeling of you, like the thing that you now believe is you can't have, like your life is how you want it to be. The outside is telling you what you want it to tell you. What would that feel like? It's not really an intellectual thing of trying to fill in the details of what is that. It's more of the feeling. Just how would you feel? So now we're, about at the end of our time, but um, this is what I would do before I went into, your traditional business planning for 2026 is put yourself in a place of believing you can have what you want, and then change your internal state to be that person. It changes the filters that you have on your five physical senses so that you can perceive different information. When you look at all the problems and then you plan and you forecast forward, you've confirmed all of the filters. Like, I think it's an Einstein quote, you can't solve a problem with the same mind that created the problem. So this, getting to this point starts to change the mind you are so that you can make 2026 different than 2025 and not just like a smooth, continuous curve with the same 10% growth or the same ups and downs, so that you can shift it into a different gear, have a quantum leap, a step change between then and now. This is how you produce a step change. You change you on the inside. That changes the filters that you perceive, the opportunities that allows you to take in data that you were functionally blind to before. Everybody ready to do it? Make 2026 a quantum leap, a totally different experience. Not that there's anything wrong with 2025. It can be amazing and still have a giant leap forward in 2026 to have a whole new level of amazing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything's possible.
Yeah, everything is possible, and each one of us is the selector of what of the possibilities will become manifest. That's what your body is. You're the selector of which of those possibilities comes.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you, Molly.
You're so welcome.
Thank you.
And we
Thank
do
you.
this. What is it? The
Thank
second and fourth Mondays? It's some of the Mondays we do this at noon.
Second and fourth.
Second
Second
and
and
fourth.
fourth.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Molly.
Yeah.
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 Thanks, Molly.
I
It
will.
was nice
Thank
meeting
you.
everybody. Mhm.
Yeah.
Great
You too.
meeting you, CJ. We got to connect.
Yeah, absolutely. This
Yeah.
won't be the last time.
I'll send everyone the recording and the videos.
Great.
Okay.
Oh,
So,
great. So we'll
yeah.
get the music.
So we could
Yeah,
listen to it every
great
night.
music.
Yes.
Yes, it was.
And the video, I didn't watch the video on the first one, but I remember watching it before.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Molly, thank you so much for this.
You're so
Thank
welcome,
you so much.
everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And thanks, Jonathan, for hosting
Bye.
and inviting me.
Yes, thanks,
So I'm
Jonathan.
so glad you're here, Lori, and CJ. So glad to get to know you.
Yes, wonderful experience.
Okay. Thank you,
Bye,
Okay.
everyone.
guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.
I don't know if I should stay on or if I should jump off.
You can stay on.
That was awesome.
Whew.
Okay, I'll stop the recording. Stop.